The rancher never expected that the woman he sheltered for one night, cold, exhausted, and on the run, would look him in the eyes the next morning and whisper, trembling yet fearless, "You let me sleep in your bed, rancher. Get ready, we're having babies." And in that single moment, his quiet, lonely world shifted forever. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Moments of Love. And leave a like and comment if this story touches your heart. He had found her at sundown, lying near the edge of his property, half conscious, her clothes torn, her feet bleeding from miles of running. Coyotes circled in the distance, but she didn't have the strength left to care. She had already accepted the idea of dying beneath the dying. Red sky of the desert, but fate had other plans. The rancher Daniel Hart was a man of few words and even fewer visitors. Since his wife had passed 5 winters ago, he lived in a small wooden house tucked between 2 ridges, tending his cattle, speaking mostly to the wind. He had convinced himself that solitude was safer than hope. Yet when he saw the young Apache woman collapsed near his fence line, something inside him cracked open, something warm he hadn't felt in years. He lifted her gently as if she were made of paper and grief, and carried her into his home. She didn't resist, her dark eyes fluttered open only once, long enough to whisper, "Don't send me back." Daniel didn't know who she was running from. He didn't know what kind of trouble lay on her heels. But he knew fear when he heard it. And nobody deserved to die alone in the cold desert night. He laid her on his bed because it was the only warm, soft place in the house. He placed water by her side, covered her with his thickest blanket, and sat beside her until her breathing steadied and her trembling stopped. When morning came, she sat up, startled, then whispered those words that froze him. "You let me sleep in your bed, rancher. Get ready. We're having babies." Daniel blinked, confused. She explained her people's tradition, that a man who offered his bed had chosen to protect her. He tried to tell her it wasn't a promise, but when she lowered her eyes and said she would leave, something inside him twisted painfully. "You're not leaving," he said softly. And from that moment, the house was no longer empty. Her name was Nira over the next few days. She healed shared pieces of her painful past and brought life back into Daniel's silent home. She cooked, tended the fire, even tried to help with animals. Daniel found himself smiling again one evening. Watching a golden sunset together, she whispered, "You saved me." He shook his head, "No. You saved yourself," but before they could say, more riders appeared, men who claimed Nira as property. Daniel refused to hand her over. His voice turned to steel as he said, "People aren't property." The men eventually left, but Nira trembled when Daniel returned. "Inside you could have died," she whispered. He knelt before her. "I wasn't letting them take you." Something shifted that night, a bond deeper than gratitude. As days passed, Nira moved through the ranch like she belonged there. And she did one morning. She explained what her "we're having babies" phrase had really meant. "When kindness is planted, new life grows." Daniel replied, "Life has already grown here since you arrived." They embraced softly, meaningfully. And in time, real babies did come. 2 boys who carried both their heritages with pride. Their home became a place of healing and warmth. But the world outside had not completely forgotten Nira. One late afternoon, as she hung laundry under a fading golden sky, she froze. Daniel followed her gaze. A lone rider watched them from a distant ridge before disappearing. Quiet tension settled over the ranch again. Inside, Daniel took his rifle. "Inside," he whispered. Nira obeyed, fear trembling in her eyes. "They found me," she whispered. Daniel placed a firm hand on her shoulder. I won't let anything happen to you. For days, Daniel checked the fences and watched the horizon. Nira stayed close, trusting him completely. Their bond, instead of breaking under fear, grew stronger one night by the fire. Nira made a leather protection braid. It reminds us fear does not rule this house, she said when Daniel hung it by the door. She confessed softly in my tribe. A protection braid is hung by someone who has chosen a partner. He turned slowly. Who chose this partner? I did, she whispered. Daniel knelt in front of her. I choose you too. The next morning, fresh horse tracks appeared near the creek. Many of them. Nira stepped closer to him. They're coming back, his voice grew steady. Then we protect what's ours. She tried to protest, afraid for him. But Daniel shook his head. I'd rather fight for something that matters than live empty again. Together they prepared, but danger didn't return. Days passed. The tracks vanished and slowly life steadied again. One sunrise, Nira stepped outside with a trembling smile and placed Daniel's hand on her stomach. Life has grown again, she whispered. His breath caught Nira. Are we? Yes, she said, eyes shining. He pulled her into his arms, overwhelmed with gratitude and love. Thank you, he whispered, for what her voice was soft, for letting me hope again. Daniel finally understood what his second chance looked like: love. Family and a future built from compassion rather than fear. And Nira finally felt safe. Not because the world changed, but because she was no longer alone. Together they rewrote every dark chapter into light. Their story became a reminder. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change not just one life, but two, and sometimes love arrives in the most unexpected place. Stronger than sorrow, brighter than the desert dawn,